all that. I mean, just, you know, I mean, he really turned the page on that stuff. And that's the thing, you know, that I really wanted to get into the book, but I couldn't go that deep. It would have been 800 pages.
Right.
I'd love to talk about South Central Cartel. I'd love to talk about Kid Sensation and all of those type of records. But it was like, you know, what are you going to do? You gotta talk about what people know, and then hope that it inspires them to dig a little deeper.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you know who Tone Loc and Young MC is, but do you know that Young MC wrote the records for Tone Loc?
Right, and a lot of people know that now, but back then, you would never guess that.
Yeah, I mean, do you know that Ice Cube wrote Boys in the Hood?
Right, yeah, see, I mean, it's all known now. I mean, Ice Cube, I think, is a brilliant artist.
Like, do you know that Eminem wrote The Watcher?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or do you know that that's Nocturnal and Eminem on the hook?
Right.
You know what I mean? Do you know Millman did that beat?
And I was just going to bring this up. I had done an interview with Sam Snead last year, and I already knew about Sam.
Sorry.
I had, and I didn't want to really ask him questions too much about Dr. Dre. I was trying to separate that all together. But since this was a Death Row album that was never released, I thought I would just bring it up a little bit. And when we talked on the phone afterwards, you know, I asked him a few questions, and it's unfortunate that so many producers that have kind of learned from Dre didn't get the credit from Dre. So.
Well, I mean, and that's what's sad about the overall business. That's what I was trying to really do with the book, is make sure that everybody got the credit for what they did. And everybody was a little bit uneasy because they thought I was going to give them the credit for some of the messed up stuff they did. And it wasn't the case.
Right. Is it true what they say, though? Big Bank take Little Bank, or is it now style and...
Well, that's just life. I mean, that's every business. Yes, it's still very true.
Yeah.
Corporate America feeds off of the street. It's just what it is. I mean, it's no different between Universal and the compartmentalizing or compartmentalizing of labels and condensing them into one major umbrella or a couple major umbrellas, because now really there's only two labels, the Universal branch and the Warner branch, but they're not even American owned anymore, so it's like, okay. I mean, it's no different than Costco. What did Costco do? They just put everything in a warehouse, made everything cheaper, and produced the Kirkland brand. Bought up everybody who was making the product and shut down the places and condensed it into one warehouse.
Right.
But it affects the quality of the taste. And, you know, hey, don't get mad at me. You want everything cheap and accessible. I mean, there you go. But, I mean, now you're mad because your cake doesn't taste as sweet. Like, that's what you wanted, right?
Right.
Everything in one place. You don't want to have to go to three places. You go to one place and get everything. Well, there's some setbacks in that.
Right. I just got a text back from Prodigy. He's on his way to Australia right now.
Yeah, that's cool.
Must be rough. All right. Well, before I stop.
But here's the thing. It is rough. And the reason why is, I mean, regardless of how big or how influential anyone is, I mean, you're talking to a legend, bro.
Right.
I mean, he's a legend. But, you know, he's getting on a 14-hour flight to go promote his craft to a smaller audience than what he deserves.
But he's getting more money in notoriety.
Well, yeah. I mean, but he's not being properly compensated. Well, I don't know that for sure, but I know that a lot of the people of that generation, or even my generation, are not being properly compensated for what they've done. Of course not.
Right.
And that's, you know, credit is currency. Currency is currency. And, you know, either way, a lot of people aren't getting it.
Very true.
I mean, you brought up a name, a legendary name to me that people don't realize that person's impact. Money B. Look at that guy's impact.
Right.
You want to know some stories? Talk to Money B.
I'm already knowing. You know what
I mean? Like, I mean, you want to talk about the birth of Tupac and all of those kind of things and what all of that really meant and that era really meant, because that's the era that spawned all of us. I mean, I'm from that root.
You know, whenever I'm around Shock G, I learn so much that I can't even retain it all because he has such an ADD-like demeanor that I have a hard time following, but I take it all in as much as I can. And Shock G and Money B both are very educational individuals, you know.
And they're humble. That's the thing, is, you know, I was doing a thing with Q1047 here, and the guy said, after he read the book, he goes, dude, I had no clue you did that much in hip-hop. And I'm like, dude, you've known me for like 10 years, bro. How did you not? And he's like, well, he goes, well, everybody only saw little pieces of what you did, and you're so humble that you never talked about what you did. So it was like, you know, nobody really knew, and, you know, you just see you at the bar chilling or at the radio station chilling, and you're just, you know, playing basketball or craps or Uno and, you know, whatever. And, you know, there's no heavy security or, you know, big, like, you know, entourage and all that kind of stuff. You're just hanging out playing records, talking to the big bear.
Right.
So it's like, you know, you don't think that, you know, here's somebody that changed the face of rap music. You know what I mean? And that's what Money B and Shock and Prodigy and you know, I mean, Tila and all of those guys are. I mean, King T played a major role in all of the Ice Cube stuff.
Right.
I mean, I met King T before I saw the night that the first time I ever saw Ice Cube was at it was a house in Toluca Lake that they had converted into a studio, and they were working on the Gorillas in the Mist album. And Ice Cube was in there, and King T was working on the album. King T was the backbone of all of that stuff.
Right.
If there was no King T, there wouldn't have been no Dr. Dre, bro.
Why do you think I said I was disappointed when you didn't mention his name?
Well, I mean, but it's hard to when asked about it, to go through everybody because you're going to miss somebody.
Right.
I mean, like I said, you know, you want to talk about Aladdin? Let's talk about Aladdin.
You're right. He's in my phone. I'm already knowing.
I mean, ND and Evil E. Let's go on to Evil E.
Right.
I mean, you want to talk about Tony A and Julio G and their gift to hip hop and Latin hip hop and the fact that, I mean, to me, it's the biggest travesty about Julio and Tony and all of those guys. Those guys made Latin rap, bro. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And, you know, and the person that really gets the credit for Latin rap, or nobody really gets it. I mean,
Mellow Mayonnaise.
I mean, well, I mean, everybody thinks that Latin rap started at Fat Joe and Big Pun.
No.
And that's something that's like, no.
Well, you got Frost, you got, you know, Mellow Man, you got, you know.
I mean, there you go. I mean, dude, let's talk about Mellow Mayonnaise. You know, let's talk about Johnny J and Mentarosa that led to the Tupac albums.
Right.
I mean, it's a small business, bro, and there's only a handful of people that actually... I mean, let's talk about Crazy Tunes. What did Crazy Tunes do?
And look, I mean, he's amazing.
He's a legend, bro.
Yeah.
Legend. And all of these guys were the backbone of this hip-hop stuff. And I mean, and that's the problem also in the book. I mean, you touched on it perfect. I wish I could have gone into all of that. I mean, I would have loved to have gone into the birthplace of hip-hop, started at Sedgwick, and moved all the way up from there. But the problem is the generations wouldn't understand it. So I had to start with something palatable that everybody would recognize. And then we can go back. And hopefully what the book does is sparks the conversation of where we've come from. And what's really cool about it is now, like, I've been doing lectures a lot. And one of the first lectures I did was at Davis in Northern California. And it's an agricultural school. I never thought in a million years that they'd be doing a hip-hop class. But I walked in, and they were playing Mobb Deep Shook Ones, the unedited version. And I walked in, and I'm like, whoa. we really have made it.
All right.
But the problem with that is it all stops at 97 because the teachers are all at the point where they grew up in the generation pretty much before me. So they're all up into, they get up into just some early Tupac and it stops. And that's why it was so much fun for me is because that's where I started.
Right.
And all of the kids were kids when that was happening. Well, we're born in 97, so geez, make me feel old.